There is so much going on today. Uh, it's almost hard to put into words how busy the last 24 hours really have become. You know, you think you've got a show prepped. You're already juggling like a lot, like many things on the schedule. And then you see a video of a governor of a state in New England signing a bill into law that allows the wholesale murder of children. Wholesale. I don't want to. I'm not gonna do too much talking about it right now because I don't want to overshadow our guest because he's here, and I want to make sure that we're because we're going to talk about it with Brandon momentarily. But I'm reminded of the verse in the book of Jeremiah. One of the verses that my father, Mr. Kevin Carter, love you, Pop, read to us as children. Okay, and one he still reads to this day. It's here, right? The heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked in all things, and who can know it? I don't remember the exact chapter and verse, but we'll get into that momentarily. Good afternoon to all of you out there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here today on this, our 63rd episode of Apostate Radio. I am, of course, Isaiah L. Carter. Nino Sabio will be joining us roughly in about a half hour or so. But if you are new to the show, we would encourage you to please subscribe to our multiple channels. We have a YouTube channel that's that we're trying to build, and we also have a Rumble. We're a Rumble channel. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Apostate Radio is everywhere, and we are truly blessed to be doing this now a 63rd time. A 63rd time. This is we've had a lot of great guests on the show. We've tackled a lot of big subjects here, and we're really thankful. We're thankful for the opportunity to be here with you all today. So I do want to talk to you about a couple of things here because we have a couple of things that I want to just share with you. You've probably noticed that, speaking of Rumble, actually, you've probably noticed Rumble isn't slowing down. You've got more creators, more content, and a platform that's actually putting users and free speech first. Spoken to a lot of people recently, and a lot of content creators like myself and others. We've been making the big switch in many cases. Okay. And if you're watching here regularly, there's a way to upgrade your entire experience. Right now, Rumble is running a limited time summer sale on Rumble Premium, and it's the lowest price they've ever offered. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you actually come for. Plus, you can unlock exclusive content from top creators like Steven Crowder, Dr. Disrespect, special live events, and more you won't see anywhere else. And here's the deal. Normally, no Rumble Premium is $99 a year. But during this summer sale, you can lock it in for just $69 per year for life. Not just 1 year. Every year you stay subscribed, you keep that $69 rate. no promo code, no extra steps. Just go to rumble.com/premium and the summer sale price is already applied. That's rumble.com/premium to lock in the lowest price Rumble's ever offered. Free, exclusive content, and a price that never goes back up, but only if you grab it before the summer sale ends. So make sure you do. Make sure you do that. Make sure you Rumble is a great channel. Is a great platform. Actually, we're really grateful to be on there. And also something else I've been doing with Rumble has been the addition of their Rumble wallet. Rumble wallet's actually been pretty interesting to use. In fact, I just want to bring it up here because let me see. I thought I actually had it. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah, I just want to bring this up real quick so you can sign up immediately with this. We hear a lot about crypto, but the part most people miss is that crypto was created so that you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, if you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup whatsoever. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me, like Apostate Radio. So do this now. Scan the QR code on the bottom right corner of your screen and click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap pay, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And having dabbled a little bit in crypto, I will say it's been quite an experience so far. Still learning it, but here you are, wallet.rumble.com. Please make sure you check it out. Make sure that you give a shout out to Rumble for this. But yeah, this is fantastic stuff here, guys. Oh man, where else? Oh yeah, if you want to follow us directly, of course, Isaiah L. Carter is my handle. Nino Sabio is Nino's YouTube handle. I'm sorry, X handle. And then the show itself is Apostate Radio NY. We have show updates, also just random stuff that we like to discuss also. If you're on YouTube, we have super chats that are available. We are finally somewhat monetized, but we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And we hope that you will join us in that. I think we're two. We have like 798 subscribers, trying to get to 1,000. We are 202 away. So please make sure you pass that. Please make sure you pass our show along, subscribe. Make sure that you turn on all your notifications so you never miss a show. If you also want to, there's another way you can support us directly is buymeacoffee.com/apostate radio. Let's get to this. Joining the show for the first time to discuss the horrors of Woke 1.0, in which he documented some of the most horrific things that were supported, promoted, embraced, forced upon the American public by not just the left, not just the one mistake that a lot of people make is that they'll say that it was leftists who was pushing all of the gender cultism and all of the other foolishness that we've been seeing over the last several years. A lot of people will go, well, now that you've had, some transgenders that have come out and just basically made it clear and obvious that they're communists, that they ally themselves with communism and the far left. They'll say, well, this was all a fringe issue. I will tell you right now, as our guest has documented, which we'll get into in the second hour, this was not just a thing on the left. This was a thing that the mainstream was in on. Coming to us from the Christian Post, a wise man and someone who God is using to bring the truth of this day and age, Mr. Brandon Showalter. What's going on, sir? How are you?
It's good to be with you, Isaiah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. You stopping by the show. This is your first time here, and I would like, and as is our tradition here on the show, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to tell your story, let people know who you are, what you're about, and what has brought you to this point. What's got you doing what you're doing? The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So just the long short of it is, we were talking before the show, I'll just recap it. At age 31, I was looking to do something different and got an email where the Christian Post was looking for reporters. I was working a couple different odd jobs at the time, but I'd been doing some blogging on the side, and somehow I met the qualifications I was just going to give journalism a try. And so I filled out the application, was interviewed, went through a trial period, and then was hired 10 years ago on July 22nd. Interestingly enough, the first day of my trial period was the day after the Pulse nightclub massacre in Orlando, Florida, which when I think about it, it just seems so surreal given kind of the journalistic space I wound up in. But I started falling down the gender rabbit hole. You talk about the gender cult weeks into my new career as a journalist at the Christian Post. And what happened, this is the story that I tell that sort of set me on this course, but I was one of the top editors came into the newsroom in late July or early August of just soon after I'd started as a reporter. And he said, we need a reporter to tackle the issue of these municipalities and states that are proposing bans on so-called conversion therapy. And I was just wondering, oh, good grief, what a touchy issue. Should I do that? I don't know. I just started in journalism. This is going to be a controversial thing. Is this going to impede my career? I don't know. I was just sort of hesitant about it. And I walked across the newsroom and I heard that still small voice of the Holy Spirit say to me, are you ashamed of the gospel? And I just gulped. I thought, no, I'm not. And then I sensed the Holy Spirit say to me, then tell your editor you'll do the article. So I did. And what I didn't know at the time was that the whole conversion therapy, which I think is a misnomer in a number of ways, but with that, I didn't know that there was the whole trans medicine as part of that. And I wound up speaking with a therapist who was concerned about it down in Florida. And she was saying, if I have a young girl who's confused about her body, I can't tell her that she's actually biologically female if these laws go through. And I was just, oh. And then I started learning about puberty blockers and growth-sex hormones and just started finding out information that all of the horrifying things that people have learned about in the last several years were actually true. But I was kind of there among the first people perceiving it early that we had a horrific medical scandal and child abuse scourge on our hands. but it was all dressed up and packaged in LGBTQ civil rights. And so everybody was psychologically conditioned to think that everything was fine. And so they're just sort of in the trenches from the early on. I remember just being so alarmed by it, saw all of the language deception in the media. And I remember speaking to my editors in early, sort of my first full year of reporting in 2017, is like, we have to plant our flag on this hill and not budge, because this is horrible. And I had no idea what was ahead of me. I've appeared in a couple different national documentaries, written hundreds of articles, produced 5 seasons of a documentary podcast called Generation Indoctrination, written an ebook with Dr. Jeff Myers, done tons of media interviews, kind of became a national voice, and spoke at the Federal Trade Commission last year as they took action to try and prohibit this under sort of fraudulent. They're using their legal agency tools. So I've had some neat opportunities, but I've been in a dark abyss of uncovering horrors untold. The reason we're having this article is because on the 10th anniversary of my official hire date, I just sort of felt like I had to do a summative article of all of the things that I've seen and then some, and it only scratched the surface, because it is a diabolical cesspit of depravity that you can't even imagine, but it's all real. And there's like 50 or so receipts in that article, which maybe we can talk about. But
yeah,
that's not the only thing I've reported on, to be sure. But it kind of became an all-consuming thing, because as one therapist that I know who wrote recently in the publication Spiked, I think the trans issue is the clearest lens through which we can see the disintegration of every major entity and institution in Western society, because of how it corrupts. It lies about something so basic, and so every realm and sphere that it touches, it corrodes, erodes, destroys. And so not everything is about transgenderism, obviously, but if you want to know why things are disintegrating, look no further than that, because as Sal Grover says, if you can make people believe a lie, and I'm paraphrasing, if you can lie to people about something so obvious, you should assume that they're going to lie to you about everything else. And what could be more basic than human body and biological sex? And that's the institutionalized big lie that is destroying our society as we speak. Only now is it being contested, but the carnage has been brutal.
I've kind of gone down this path with you. I mean, in my own way, over the last several years. It's kind of tough for me to talk about, because I came into this, like, for me, the entry point for gender cultism was the dual interviews of Janet Mock that Piers Morgan did back in, I want to say it was like 2012 or 2013, where they had, so you remember it. You remember that?
I know who Janet Mock is, and I remember seeing stuff that he has said that's pretty horrifying. I don't remember that exact interview, but I'm familiar with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share the I don't even know if they're still around. Like when I say they, I'm talking about like the interviews, because it was like you had one interview where like Piers interviewed Mock, like, okay, hey, like, you're this, and you've written this book called Redefining Realness, and okay, no, like, and it seemed like a normal interview. And then I remember the online backlash. Okay, I remember like women screaming at Piers, calling him all sorts of like evil names, and just like going fully crazy. And then and then Piers brings Mock back, almost in like a to try to offer like a conciliatory interview. I'd never seen anything like this. And that's where you saw the switch had turned on. The militants, the we deserve to be treated with love and respect, and you're going to do this. And it was the craziest thing that I'd ever seen. But and that was, and like I said, that's going back over 10 years ago. That's over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And so now, as I I mean, I was reading through your, like, I read through your post, through your piece in the Christian Post, and then I read through it again just before the show, and it's like, I remember this stuff. I was there. Real quick, I mean, I don't, like, for me, the other thing, like, it didn't really start to hit until I got with until I got in this relationship with my ex-girlfriend, with an ex-girlfriend who worked in DEI. And you know, I've spoken about my relationship with her, and how you saw so many of, like, the elements of, like, I saw so much of, like, the elements of narcissism, and you know, this you know, this elite overproduction, where, you know, she went to UCLA, she went to, you know, schools in California, and we went to a drag show. One of our very first dates was to a drag show, and then a year later, the guy who we went to the show to support, I remember asking about him. I'm like, hey, how's so and so doing? Like how's he feeling? I haven't seen him in a while. And my ex goes, oh, they're doing fine. And I'm like, oh wait, we're doing this now. Where a singular being is now a they them. I'm calling a singular person someone who is a singular being, someone who is like, there's one of one, and now I'm referring to him as a they them. And it was just one of those over the top moments where I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I said, no, I remember telling her, I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. And I remember her telling me that to listen to me, and this is a woman, mind you, like, to telling me that to hear, to listen to me not use her friend and co-worker's proper pronouns was like, quote, listening to nails on a chalkboard. And she screamed, like she screamed at me in person about it, and then, like, the text thread afterwards was just nothing but screaming. That was my entry point to the madness. But there's a new madness that I want to talk about right now that I think actually ties into this. Right, this is Governor Maura Healey of the once great state of Massachusetts signed a bill into law that just incinerates any type of notion that safe, legal, rare is a thing anymore with the Democratic Party. Safe, legal, rare does not exist anymore with these people. It's over. It's done. This woman has signed a bill into law that allows abortion up to birth. Up to birth. How about that? Right up to birth. And ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to really look at this, right? I want you. This is a room full of women. There's one man in the background. Okay. All of these women, I really want, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this image and watch as this clip plays. Heliodorus, thank you, brother, for joining us. Thank you. Heliodorus is our very first YouTube member. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. And he says, I have always refused to adopt anyone's special pronouns on the grounds that English is difficult enough without introducing new rules. And I refuse to be called cisgender. Same here, brother. Same here. But folks, let this sink in here. Let this image sink in as Governor Healey signs the death warrant essentially for all babies born in the state of Massachusetts up to the point of birth.
Thank you.
10 seconds. 10 seconds of evil. 10 seconds of evil. What exactly is there to celebrate? Brandon, I don't know what you saw there, but, or I don't know if you've had a chance to see that, but what were your thoughts when you started hearing about this? I'm sure you did.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been surprising to me to see that it's obviously it's taking place again within a very polarized country, particularly about these hot button social issues, abortion sort of being the bleeding edge of that. You mentioned the whole Clinton era safe, legal, and rare thing. That was the messaging that was used back in the 90s. And I just shared something in the chat that I would commend for your consideration, because what we are watching with the adoption of laws in the blue states that liberalize abortion to removing all gestational limits, where up to birth, abortions can happen legally in these states. This is the repaganization. This is a flagrant disregard for humanity at a very basic level. Safe, legal, and rare at least indicated that every abortion is tragic. Well, all of that is gone now, and it's being hailed as good. And so I say we are repaganizing because the article that I just shared was from 2023 by a woman by the name of Louise Perry, who I believe is a feminist turned Christian, who wrote about her discomfort with abortion because she wrote about how the historic Christian view, and I share this view obviously as a Christian, is that we have to have a regard for the weak and the defenseless.
Yes.
In the ancient pagan Roman world, it was the Christian sexual ethic that valorized weakness and elevated the status of women and had regard for the unborn to the point where, abortion and infanticide, that was typical back in the ancient pagan world. The degradation and the hedonism, temple prostitution, none of this is new, but it was distinctly pagan. And then the Christian faith appears on the scene and transforms society. And now, because our culture values the sexual revolution, and I believe I've said before that I think the sexual revolution is the raison d'etre of the political left these days. Abortion is some, Rush Limbaugh used to call it the holiest sacrament of
Yes.
the left. Yeah, I used to think that was extreme. I don't anymore, because it seems to be in order to defend the goals of the sexual revolution, they have to sacrifice the unborn, and there's more to it than just the sexual revolution. And of course, there are Republicans that support abortion too. But as our culture has moved away from the values of Judeo-Christian norms and ethics, this is a pagan ritual essentially. And so it used to be. Bill Clinton vetoed, even though safe, legal, and rare was the messaging, he even vetoed when he was in office federal bans on partial birth abortion. George W. Bush did indeed sign into law such a ban later. But even the safe, legal, and rare thing, I think, was more messaging than it was actual principle. Because, again, he vetoed a ban on partial birth abortion when he was president. But now, particularly in response to the overturning of Roe versus Wade, we've seen, the abortion backlash. But I think it reveals something larger and more spiritual about what's happening in certain parts of the country than it is just about the state of the law. In 2018, I remember being deluged. You saw that clip there in Massachusetts where they're all clapping and cheering, but in the legislature of New York, they liberalized their abortion laws in anticipation that Roe versus Wade would be overturned as it was. I think that was right when Kavanaugh was going through his process. They sensed rightly that he would be a clincher vote against Roe versus Wade. And they liberalized up to birth in New York, and we saw them hooping and hollering in the legislature in Albany. And everybody, I remember just being deluged with emails, just feeling like that was the most diabolically horrifying thing I've ever seen, to be cheering for something so grotesque. Well, I mean, choose this day whom you will serve. How long will you waver between two opinions? Kind of like this is the contrast between good and evil is stark these days, and this crystallizes it.
And I think that really is because the fact that it's hard to even put into words.
Yeah.
I'm an uncle.
Mm-hmm.
I internalize things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I'm an uncle. Okay. I have 5 nephews and 2 nieces, 2 little girls who, well, one ain't so little now. She's 12, and that's a big. She's gonna be taller than. She's gonna be 6 foot tall. Lydia, I love you, baby. You think she's gonna be 6 foot tall? My oldest niece, and I've got a 6-year-old niece, like her sister, and who's like one of the biggest like personalities I've ever come across.
Mm-hmm.
The idea, I've got a wonderful young man in Justin who'll be 17. I love these children. Okay. I don't have any sons or daughters of my own. Okay. At 44, I'm 44 years of age. I don't know if I'll have any. My wife will be 40 this year. We don't know. Like we don't know what God's going to have for us. Right. But the glee, right? The glee in these women's faces.
Yeah. The
glee in which these women are openly celebrating being able to terminate their we're not talking about I was a Democrat, right? I was a Democrat for many years. Okay. Stu Smith chimed in. He said, just tuning in, but I always think about Ralph Northam's comments. What were those comments, Stu? And thank you for joining me, brother. You want to talk about real quick? Stu Smith of the Manhattan Institute. This guy is documenting so much in terms of communism and the march of leftism in our country. Please make sure you follow him and make sure that you he's a previous guest of our show. Make sure you follow him and support him. But Stu, we're going to please, whatever those comments were by former Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, we're going to need those, brother. The glee. I can't get over this, bro. I can't. When I look at the smiling faces, it's like there is you know what this is? This is a freedom from. They are celebrating the freedom from something. As I watch this, I'll just mute it. As I watch it, like this woman, watch the one in the middle who's got her hands raised, who's starting to raise her hands, who's just to the right of Mara Healy. Okay, watch the reaction. This glee, this like, oh my God, it's so wonderful. I can kill my kid.
Yeah.
I can terminate a life. This they're just a clump of cells anyway. They're not going to feel anything. Is a fetus still a clump of cells at 9 months?
I know. It's so sobering. I mean, I know people who I disagree with them, but they identify themselves as pro-choice, and they think that doing it in the 3rd trimester is wrong. There's at least you'd think that they'd have some regard for the humanity of a baby that absolutely will survive outside of the womb. And it's, I mean, there's that famous verse in the Bible. By the way, it was Jeremiah 17:9 earlier. That was the hardest.
Thank you.
It was John Adams. That was a favorite verse of John Adams, our 2nd president. But he wrote about that verse a couple times in his early writings. But Isaiah 5:20 about good, evil, woe to those who call good evil and evil good. Who can
yes.
Like, I don't think there could be a clearer picture of this than gleefully celebrating late-term abortion. It's so, but I think what it does what it does sort of bespeak about what's going on in our culture is we've become so hardened to God's righteous ways that evil gets a foothold and doesn't let go. But they have a friend that says sin will keep you longer. Sin will take you farther than you want to go and keep you longer than you want to stay. And so this idea that we're now seeing on camera people gleefully celebrating something grotesque. I mean, it's kind of yesterday was the 11th month anniversary of Charlie Kirk's murder. And I remember seeing people cheer his murder. So we cheer. I mean, we have to reckon with the fact that we are a culture that does cheer violence against our fellow human beings, whether they are about to be born or even fully born. And it's a sobering time.
I mean, and honestly, it's the celebration of evil against the innocent.
Yeah.
That's the part for me that I can't get over.
A lot of people, I think, again, I disagree with the whole safe, legal, and rare thing, because I believe in the inherent dignity of every person, born and unborn. But there was at least an acknowledgement that it may be Louise Perry touches on this in that article I've shared, that every abortion is tragic. You can recognize the humanity in the unborn person. You may think it's more a moral necessity. I don't agree with that, but you can at least have that sort of impulse. Now it's just degradation. Now I want to be free from the consequences of sexual activity. And so even if it means legally sanctioning the killing of the unborn in the third trimester, so be it. It serves the god of sexual hedonism. This is a pagan sacrifice.
All this is.
That's
exactly what it is.
No regard for anything more.
Another former guest of Apostate Radio, Miss Kira Davis, who we absolutely love on here. She went off, man. She went off, and I do want to play this because this is a reaction, an instant reaction that she put up.
This is the Massachusetts governor signing an abortion bill up to the moment of birth. And then all of the women around her cheer and clap. We cannot make peace with these people. We don't want to be their friends. We've seen what makes them cheer.
I mean, yeah, that's apt. I don't want to be I remember in 2020, this was kind of lost in the sauce of COVID and everything that was going on during that time. Because I was a Democrat for many years. I voted for Barack Obama in 2008, 2012, voted for Hillary Clinton, voted for Biden. I was one of them, right? I was in. And I was always the type of, I was pro-choice,
mm-hmm.
but I was pro-choice with limits.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was, in the case of rape, incest, life,
right.
Which any reasonable person, even if you are like a hardcore pro-lifer,
yeah,
you can still be reasonable, right? The Bible does call for us to be reasonable people.
Yeah.
But I remember when the language shifted, when leftists started to say that pro-choice was outdated or pro-choice was problematic. So then they just went from pro-choice to pro-abortion. Pro-abortion for any reason, at any time, no exceptions. This was right after, it was right in between George Floyd, right? St. George Floyd and the 2020 election. It was there was just something else about it.
Yeah.
And I think, as we talk about woke 1.0, I think that one of the things that I've become really sensitive to is when my intelligence is being insulted by these people. Because now, because you know what's starting to happen now, right? They're starting to walk this back. They're starting to walk a lot of it back. They're going to try to act like, oh my God, that was a crazy time, no? But I'm like, y'all were the ones who referring to birthing people, and y'all were the ones who were talking about, which we'll get into in the second hour. Y'all were the ones who was talking about, like pro-abortion. Like, y'all were the ones who threw away safe, legal, rare in front of everybody and expected us not to notice.
Yeah.
I have another example of this, and I don't know if did you see AOC?
Yeah.
AOC. Basically, this is another thing. Like, AOC went and released a video. Again, this is attention-seeking behavior. I do not know how this woman I don't know how this woman was elected to New York 14. I don't. I had Illustrate Life, who's a fantastic lady, says, I had a COVID baby. I didn't get the hokey pokey, but my husband had to for work. I was so scared I'd be a widow. Everything worked out in our case. The suffering and misery is sick. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I wish I had never taken the vaccine. I took the initial Pfizer 2-shot, and then I took a booster, and after that it was it. I couldn't keep doing it, because and that's another discussion for another time. And then she asked, is America doing what the Yahtzees did? I mean, well, we are talking about the repaganization of Western civilization. I mean, if you see what's going on over in the UK, that's a whole other show entirely. There's that phrase in the Bible, the phrase in the New Testament where it talks about, and such were some of you. We were heading to the UK. We were well, had Trump not gotten elected in 2024, we were going to be the UK. Yeah. We were headed that way, dude. But I do want to just share, before I show AOC's video, I do want to actually read an excerpt of the repaganizing, the piece that you recommended to me.
Yeah.
She says, and this is Louise Perry. She says, I realize that this is not a nice thing to think about. Personally, I find that if I let my mind rest for more than a moment on these tiny extinguished lives, and on the cruelty of the society that regarded their suffering as an acceptable consequence of the need to satiate male lust, I experience a painful, squeezing, swooping sensation in my chest that I've discovered only since I became a mother myself. An involuntary physical response that I felt for the first time during my third trimester when I read an article on abortion that included a graphic description of what the procedure actually involves. I recalled that moment as I spoke to Helen, and it occurred to me that I had no idea what modern abortion clinics do with fetal remains. The answer, I've since discovered, is that the remains are usually burned along with other clinical waste. There will be no infant skeletons for archaeologists of the future to find. To mention abortion and infanticide in the same breath is a provocation. A majority of voters in Britain and America regard abortion as permissible in some cases, whereas very few are willing to say the same of infanticide, with some notable exceptions. But this distinction has not been made by all peoples at all times. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
A clump of cells up to and including the moment of birth. Do you remember when Donald Trump in 2016 was talking about this, and they laughed at him and they yelled at him? They was like, "Oh, you're a liar! You're a liar!" Remember that?
If you're referring to the debate with Hillary Clinton, where he actually described a late term abortion on the debate stage.
Yes.
I remember seeing that and my jaw hit the floor, because I never thought that I would see even a Republican presidential candidate be as bold as, and in terms of what President Trump actually thinks about abortion, I honestly don't know. He's made some moves that have been favorable toward the pro-life advocacy community, and they've gotten some wins, and obviously overturning Roe with the 3 justices, kind of the generational victory there. But I was stunned that he was not known for. He used to be very pro-choice. I mean, Donald Trump was, and then he actually described it. And I've heard it. Laura Ingraham said that when she saw him do that, she turned to Monica Crowley, who's now a Trump official, and she said he just won the election, because she never thought that we would see a presidential candidate actually describe what actually happens in a late term abortion from a presidential debate space. George W. Bush didn't do that, and he actually signed a law banning it, but no one had ever had the guts to actually say, this is actually what happens. I was stunned. It was a moment I won't forget. And that's the thing. And I know we'll probably talk about this when we discuss next hour about all that has gone on in the shadows with the gender Borg. But when it's something as grotesque as abortion in the 3rd trimester, it's shrouded and clouded in all kinds of euphemisms. But the thing is that it doesn't start there. The heat's been so turned up so slowly to the point where our consciences are so seared that now they don't feel any compunction to restrain or withhold or sort of try to dress it up with safe, legal, and rare, or reproductive care, or whatever. It's just pretty brazen, and they don't feel any kind of. Some of the language is still there, but it does go to show that any sort of, you read Louise Perry's feeling of discomfort in her chest, like, that's gone now. Like, I think our consciences collectively have been so seared to the point where you have, I think Massachusetts is the 10th state now that has similar legislation on the books, where codified into law, where abortion up to birth is now legal. And that just goes to show that, again, our consciences have been so warped and distorted, and we have hardened ourselves so much so that infanticide, because I believe partial birth abortion is a form of infanticide.
It absolutely is.
I grieve, because I have you have to invite me back at some point. I actually believe that there's another sort of dimension to this, about how more conservative leaning people have mishandled the entire realm of sexuality. That, not that I'm defending what the left is doing with this, I'm not, but like this, there are many layers to why I think we are wallowing in such enormous sexuality dysfunction in this culture, that despite the moral opposition that conservatives and Christians have shown toward abortion, opposition I agree with, for the record, that there's a big trail here that led to this point, and it's not,
Well, hold on a second, Brandon. Hold on, because we can talk about this right now. We do have time.
Okay.
Let me just bring up Nino here. Nino Sabio, the my beloved co-host. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing, Brandon? I've been listening for a while now. Just been able to join.
You got
looking forward to reading your article.
Have some Pepto-Bismol handy, I would advise.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be that enjoyable, but worth it. But people need to know about it.
Yeah.
But maybe we can get it. Do we talk about it yet in depth?
We have not. We're gonna. So
maybe we should get into it now.
Hour.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon brought up an interesting point, because you had started to mention something about this hypersexual hedonistic type of state of being right now. And I'm just going to create a marker for that, because I do not want to miss this. What are you take, in your own words, tell me what you have observed about this, and how do you think it ties into what we're experiencing and the stuff that we're talking about right now?
Well, broadly speaking, it's, first of all, it's not new. I mean, but I believe that when I said earlier about, mentioning Rush Limbaugh calling abortion a sacrament, and I thought that was extreme, but now I agree with that. It's like this is all part of a much broader sexual revolution, and in an American context, a lot of times we think about it sort of beginning in 1968 amid sort of the hedonism, the Vietnam era, that sort of all of these cultural conditions that kind of converged upon themselves in that decade and then sort of exploded. And that's true, but the sexual revolution, I mean, Louise Perry wrote a book called The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, and I've been fascinated by how that has developed and how that has. I've tried to study some of that in light of my work on the gender stuff, because it's like when I zoom out and try to look at the myriad spiritual, cultural forces that have brought about this chaos, I see this as a Christian from a sort of a spiritual warfare standpoint. A lot. Ephesians 6, like, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And so the enemy of our souls, Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call, wages war on the human body. And so if he can twist and subvert sexuality, he can then rob God of his ultimate generosity as the creator and giver of life. And so sexuality is a good thing. It's a good gift of God, but it's distorted and twisted. And we see that on steroids with the explosion of the sexual revolution, which then sees, like Louise Perry said, satiate male lust, female lust too, but like abortion is seen as a necessary evil in order that we can just sort of get away with the hedonism that was valorized by the ideologues in the 60s, and then that has just continued to morph and explode ever since. But I see it as fundamentally a pagan project, because Judeo-Christian norms and ethics are really eroded by the distortion of sexuality. Because if you can sort of break those ethics, you can break the family and then break society. Because a society that values fidelity, holy matrimony, the formation of healthy families, that's a society that's durable and can last. The author J.D. Unwin wrote a book in, I think, 1934 called Sex and Culture, in which he sort of traced hundreds of societies and how they broke down. And he found that within a couple of generations, a society that embraced hedonism got taken over, and they were given over to another power, but it had a greater social energy. It's this, you want to break and cause society to disintegrate, abandon monogamy, abandon all standards, throw caution to the wind and just celebrate deviant sexuality and hedonism. You're not going to get away with it. These are such sobering times now, especially when you see the ongoing disintegration, where we're now seeing women, which I just keep that I think that image that you showed, Isaiah, is so jarring, because you would think, and I feel this way when I see women promoting transgenderism too, it's like they've overridden all of their maternal instincts to the point where they're now applauding something so grotesque. I think it's gross when men applaud it too, and they do, but you just sort of feel like, I sort of feel like when women do it, it's like, have you completely squashed everything maternal in you to now embrace something so awful as good? The inversion that happens. But yeah, I think the sexual revolution is one of the most damaging social scourges that we've ever seen, and it has profound implications for how we even relate to each other as a society, between the sexes, as families. And it's led to horrors untold. And it's even, Louise Perry is now a Christian, and it was taking an honest look at the sexual revolution that I think precipitated her conversion, because the Christian faith was radical in its objections to the hedonism of the Roman era, and it changed the world. Because for the first time in history, those kinds of standards that Christians believed in transformed society from the inside out. That was unheard of prior to the advent of the Christian faith.
So,
ahead,
Brandon,
Nino.
when you're referring to mothers crushing their own maternal instincts, in support of what exactly? Gender ideology and abortion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really something when you see kind of the icy cold glare in female politicians when they're talking about transing kids or late term abortion. And do I think it is just as disgusting when male politicians do it too, of course. And yet maybe it's just the way it hits me psychologically, but like one of the most grotesque things that I've seen in reporting on the trans scourge is seen how it's women who are the handmaidens for it. I mean, there's
Right.
obviously there are some lefty radical feminists that have been, and I applaud them for objecting to it. There have been Democratic legislators that have crossed the aisle to vote in support of Republican-sponsored bills in certain states. And props to everybody who's honest and sees it for what it is. And I'll give credit where it's due, of course. But there is, I think, something pretty sickly demonic about having to override your maternal instincts that just strikes me at a more visceral level, that you have to psychologically gaslight and condition yourself to believe that something so horrible is actually good. And for some reason, it hits me in a different way when I see women doing it than when men do it, even though, again, it's horrible no matter which sex.
I think, I think that's not exactly accurate though, because I think it's more of a perversion of maternal instincts more than a crushing of it or putting it away. It's like it's being misled in a lot of cases, I think, because these women, especially liberal women, especially woke women, progressive leftist women, a lot of times they don't even have their own kids. And if they do, then a lot of times, as you say, they will sacrifice their own kids to that gender cult. But I think they do usually think they're doing the right thing, and they think that when they're protecting gender ideology and protect trans kids, right, is one of the big things they say, and they have that in the shirts. That's their maternal instincts gone haywire in a way towards they really believe these kids are going to kill themselves. They're being abused. They have this like idea that everybody's just hunting them down everywhere, and they're going to kill themselves unless we completely accept them and completely pretend like they're the gender they are, and we allow them to get their sex changes and stuff. So there's that, and that extends also to illegal immigration. They see everybody but like straight white males as something to protect. Everything but like it's maternal instincts being perverted, hijacked, right, and deranged and misled, because they see everybody, especially if they don't have kids, and sometimes even if they do, as well, we have to protect the poor brown person, the poor black person, the poor Muslim, the poor trans person, whoever the minority is, right? And that's all that matters. That's it for them, and that's their children, that's their babies, and they're ferocious in their aggression against anybody going. You see them in the protests, screaming and then sometimes attacking police and ICE and whatever they're doing. And going nuts against parents who speak up against it, and all the heinous things are being said to anybody that speaks up against it. So there's that too. The abortion stuff is a little bit more complicated, I think. It's probably partly also that they feel like they have to protect the poor girls who are being raped, and all these different stories and stuff like that. But of course, it seems like to me most abortions, of course, are just people it's a form of birth control for them. It's just so it's not usually the case that it's people are getting abortions because they're getting raped. It's probably a smaller percentage. Anyways, but I just want to say that because I think that's also going on. But I get what you mean.
It's just it's so. I mean, again, I will just state again that I think it's, no matter if it's men or women promoting it, I think it's evil. And I don't.
It is. I think it is too.
Like, I don't want to give one sex a pass or say it's worse. When I think about the strength of maternal instinct, and whether it gets misdirected and warped and transferred into another sort of intersectional DEI mindset, like you were saying, Nino, and you were referring to earlier, Isaiah, or if they sort of have to sort of convince themselves that, like, when I think of a maternal instinct, I just think of something so fierce and wanting to protect.
Yeah, mama bear.
And so, and so for that to sort of be warped and twisted and misdirected or suppressed and crushed, either way, it's very alarming to me. And of course, I'm not a dad.
It's a dangerous force. It's a dangerous force to wield.
I guess we have paternal instincts too. I think about, like, even you see it even in nature, where if you try to mess with a mourning dove's chicks, like, the mama bird will come after you. So to see in humans where this gets twisted, where you start to celebrate and clap for abortion in the third trimester or all of these other causes of wokeness, it's bone chilling.
A Yeah, key thing to remember, I think, with people in morality, because I study this quite a bit with psychology of morality, is almost everybody thinks they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, and the perception too, I think I think it would come off like the optics, like if, Governor Healy signing that abortion ban, if she had been surrounded by a bunch of men who were clapping, how would that come across to the public? That would probably look like these are a bunch of, pigs who just want to. I mean, it would be. I think if people feel more sympathetic when it's, even if it's every bit as evil, but it would be. And frankly, there's been polling in previous years to show that men support abortion even a lot more than women do because it lets them off the hook for the babies they too. So, but the optics are quite something because I think people feel safer supporting something so grotesque if they see it women sort of proving up and clapping.
Well, I think, if, in my opinion, and really, I'm going to echo the sentiment of Nick Freitas here when he says killing their own children has become the highest form of self-actualization for liberal white women.
I don't know. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but I get what he's saying. It's definitely one of the highest forms of virtue signaling for them now, and that's terrible. That's heinous, right?
Well, when I say here's what I mean. Here's what I mean by self-actualization, and we see a lot of this in the gender cult nonsense that we're going to go into in just a second. Self-actualization, self-determination.
Yeah.
Becoming, living authentically. Okay.
Yeah. Or having full authority in their lives.
Having full authority
over their being, their body and all that. Yeah.
Over their beings, their bodies. Even, they think of how flippantly they describe the fetus growing inside of them, right? It's a clump of cells. It's not a baby. It's a fetus, right? Like the intentional, because if you don't look at the child growing inside of you as a human being, then it's easy to snuff out the life and go right back on to doing whatever you were doing before. Okay. Again, I'm not one of the I used to be pro-choice, okay, and in a lot of ways I still am. But at the end of the day, this stuff is not something to be celebrated. And
no.
Just to think now, and I want to say this too, real quick before we go in, because you mentioned something about how. About the part about letting men off the hook.
Yeah.
I will say this. While I agree with that to a certain extent, I also know that there are a lot of women out here who are aborting their children behind the backs of behind the backs of the fathers.
It happens too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're not even the women aren't even giving the men that they've conceived with the opportunity to even be a good father. You're not even giving them the opportunity to even step up. And again, that part's never talked about.
And he doesn't have any.
This isn't just a situation where the men are just like, oh well, you pregnant? Oh word? Oh let's go to the clinic. No, that's not the only thing that's there.
Right.
There
are many different kinds of situations. I do know of men who they had no idea she was pregnant and she did it without telling him. I know that's real. I also know of women who were coerced into it because the men wanted to cover his tracks. Like that.
Same.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, like I recognize the reality of both of those things. Yeah. And yes, the left loves this phrase where, but two things can be true at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I'm not going to sit here and like you don't get to talk about the evils of the patriarchy when every other day you're heading down to the clinic because you don't have no self-control.
Yeah.
Okay. And that goes for both. That goes for both.
And here's the thing about if they want to actually talk about the evils of the patriarchy, it's who really loves abortion is sex traffickers and pimps. They take the girls that they pimp out to abortion clinics because that's a thing too. And I know of some pro-life ministries that I know of that the stories I've heard about the girls that get so scared, these men that bring them in there, but Planned Parenthood just sort of kind of enables it because they have an abortion business to protect. And so even if a girl's being trafficked or pimped, they see dollar signs, and they're not going to care about the sexual predators that are exploiting her and continuing to make money off of her. I mean, it's pretty gruesome stuff.
It is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Apostate Radio episode 63. We thank you all for joining us today. We are here with Mr. Brandon Showalter of the Christian Post. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you turn on all your notifications so you don't miss a single video or when we post. And we've got a lot going on these days. We're thankful for all of the support. We're thankful for you listening and checking us out here. So let's talk about this article, friend.
Yeah. What do you want to know about it?
Well, I got it right here.
Yeah.
I told you. I read this. I read this piece. I read this piece before, right? Like right when I asked you to come on the show,
yeah.
But like right when this got posted, I read it, and then I read it again. There's a lot of stuff that I've been reading and stuff, but this right here is like it's just one of those things where you just stop in your tracks. And you're made to reflect over the entirety of the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
The last 10, 15 years or so, where you've watched all of it, where you've been especially with me, like when I lost when my Twitter account was snatched back in 2021 for refusing to call a man a woman.
Yeah.
And you're just reliving. You're just like this piece brought it all back. If you have not read it, I'm going to drop it in the chat. What I learned after 10 years. Well, after 10 years. After 10 years. Let me just read this properly because I can't. Like my words are escaping me. After 10 years of covering the trans madness. Here's what I learned. I will drop this. Matter of fact, let me do that right now. I will drop this link in the chat so that way you can read this at your leisure. You can read this. You can read along if you like. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there are pieces in this. There are portions of this. I mean, it's graphic. It's graphic. But I am going to read this portion right here. Some of us now carry secondary trauma. Hold on, let me just make sure that some of us carry secondary trauma from years of sifting through this diabolical wretchedness. We find ourselves sporadically and inexplicably on the verge of vomiting, our bodies seizing up in panic. Our nervous systems are fried and our sleep is disturbed. Some of us have been mired. Well, you know what? Let me go back up here. Yeah, I think this is going to be right here. Let me start up here at the paragraph before that. We've watched the federal government pursue whistleblowers like Dr. Ethan Haim, who exposed the entrenched medical harm. We fielded dozens of desperate calls from parents describing how their children are permanently sterile and surgically disfigured in pursuit of a lie. We've heard the piercing anguish and exhaustion in their voices and their stories of being jolted awake at night with heart palpitations. Some have had their children taken and kept away from them by state social services agencies and their ideological machinery, and many moms and dads have no legal recourse to get them back. One such teenager, Yaeli Martinez, who was taken from her mother, died by suicide, stepping in front of an oncoming train in Los Angeles. Her mother had to learn how the pieces of her shattered body were being retrieved from the railroad tracks. Some of us now carry secondary trauma from years of sifting through this diabolical wretchedness. We find ourselves sporadically and inexplicably on the verge of vomiting, our bodies seizing up in panic. Our nervous systems are fried and our sleep is disturbed. Some of us have had family members mired in the gender jungle, and it makes the torment all the more personal. We are not in the mood to be told that we are right-wing culture warriors stoking a moral panic. We are done being told, just let them pee in peace and trans kids know who they are, as we have heard ad nauseum. No, those of us in the trans trench have been exposed to things at a granular level that we hope you never have to see. We'll take some of it to our graves. We've been harassed, threatened, sent disturbing material by email, and censored on social media for stating basic biology. We can relate to the kind of hostile bilge that irreversible damage author Abigail Schreier received from a trans activist. I printed in full so as to not sugarcoat what it has been like, and I will not repeat this. Oof.
Yeah.
How any of us in the trans trench have remained sane is nothing short of a miracle. Some of us need counseling to process everything we've had to absorb so we can inform the public about the atrocities happening right under our noses.
That's life.
Brandon, first off, you're a hero for even wading in this, and I can tell that this is like listening to you and getting to know you a little bit. This is personal for you.
Oh yeah.
This is personal for you. Like, just out of curiosity, are you a father? Like, do you have children?
No.
Are you an uncle?
3 nephews.
3 nephews. See, there it is. Tell us, if you will, what writing this piece was like for you. What was it like? What were you dealing with? Like, how long did it take you to write this piece? And like, what were you going through as you put this together?
Well, it's been interesting. I kind of came out of, like, you can probably hear some of the trauma in it because you can't write something like that and it not be deeply personal. But I'm not going to say too much about what I'm going to be doing next. These issues will always be a part of my journalistic body of work, and how much I'll talk about all of it in the coming days, I don't yet know. But I was just sort of, as I was approaching my 10-year anniversary of my official hire date, I was just thinking, like, I should just do a summative piece where I just sort of lay it all out. And I was just thinking, I need to just really show people that it is so much more than what they think, because earlier in that, you didn't read it, but it's like, it's been an absolute nightmare because we've been up against an impenetrable mainstream media blockade. These are the kinds of things that if we lived in a normal time, this should be headline news everywhere. We are cutting off the body parts of children. Like, that is, like, the fact that it's been left to the small Christian Post and a few other independent outlets and podcasters. It's just been so murderously hard to get information through the blockade of the media that is captured by this stuff, and they present it to the public as though it's the next frontier of civil rights, and that this is above board, approved by every major medical association. Like, we are living through a time when, as I also say in the piece, we should be convening tribunals to adjudicate these medical crimes. And so I just sort of felt like I had to just explain, here's what it's really like. And on the 10th anniversary of my hire date, I'm just going to pull back the curtain and say, look, here's like 50 plus receipts. These are the implications of this ideology. It's so much worse than you know. It's the most grotesque form of child abuse under the sun. It's one of the worst medical scandals to ever see that we've ever known. And some of us just are tenacious and truculent, and we're not going to shut up about it. But you can't say that you didn't know. And the horrors that this has unleashed upon countless people all over the world. I've fielded, I don't even know how many parents I've talked to over the past decade, how many disfigured children I've had to see. The stuff was that the philosopher Nietzsche said, when you stare into the abyss, it stares back at you. Like, I really have had to pace myself with this, and it's just, but I kind of wanted to just say, look, here's what it's really like. And unless you live in this trench, you don't know what it's like. But I just wanted to sort of compile it all to give people a taste of it. And I've been inundated since the publication of that article with things like, oh, dear God, I thought I was going to gag. I was going to vomit. I knew it was bad. I had no idea it was that bad. And so the reckoning is ongoing, because even though there are some things that are shifting in a positive direction now legally, with some Supreme Court wins and some gender clinics closing down because of the federal agency action where some of this is being shut down, that article didn't even scratch the surface. Like, we are living through one of the worst family shredding, child abusing, society destroying scourges that we've ever seen, because of this, I believe, spiritual demonic war against the human being and made in God's image, and the sexual revolution's ongoing morphing that we've ever seen. But the trans stuff is kind of the worst of the worst. Because it literally turns everything it touches to ash. And so people get a taste of that if they read that article, 2,000 words or so. I didn't hold back, because it's like,
You didn't.
James Lindsay read it. Our friend James Lindsay, he said, "Boy, you were tame." I'm like, I could have gone even harder, but it's a fraction of some of the things that you really don't want to see the things that I've had to see. It will disturb your sleep, and my sleep has been disturbed at times because of I will just share one more anecdote from that article. I didn't read it, but I interviewed a detransitioner man who was castrated, and that poor guy wound up ejaculating blood. And I remember when I interviewed him, I fell out of my chair. It was like, how the heck is this my life? And you don't want to see pictures of these surgeries too. You won't be able to eat for a week.
I've seen them.
Yeah,
I've seen them. And
you know what? I think you have to, because the way in which the mass media has psychologically conditioned people to believe that this is healthcare and approved. It's like a picture says 1,000 words, but until you're actually confronted with the grisly reality of it, it's not going to change, because the blockade of information and the euphemisms that drape this stuff keeps people trapped and not knowing what it is. And so I don't regret any of my reporting, but
nor should you.
I've been in it 10 years. I feel like I've aged 20. Let's put it that way.
Nino, you got anything, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I concur, man. I think it's it's clearly some kind of demonic thing going on. It's very dark, it preys on children, mutilates children, it separates families. Yeah, second, let me just decline this, turn my thing off. It's totally disrupting everything. Also, just our sense of meaning, biology, science, our institutions. We can't even trust our institutions, medical fields. Totally, we can't even trust that. Everything. It's dark, and it's a huge wedge that's put between everything that's foundational to our society. And then when you see the people.
What? Go ahead, Nino. I think we lost him.
We lost him.
I think we lost him. Nino, come back when you. Oh man, lost the.
You hear me?
We got you now. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Okay, good. Yeah. So the books, the gender queer books, all these different books that are like putting porn in classrooms and/or in libraries. They're meant for children and meant for children.
He's cutting off again. Oh boy. Real quick while we try to get Nino back. MTM Cass says, I know a woman who was diagnosed with bipolar whose son was transitioned. He is not a girl. He is still a boy. Was transitioned since the age of 2. Civil rights. Yeah. Imagine the civil right.
Yeah.
to turn your children into something they are not.
Yeah.
The civil right to turn yourself into something you know you are not. That's a civil right now.
That is, and that can't be can't overstate enough how destructive that framing is. I actually wrote a piece, an in-depth analysis of this in Commonplace magazine last year. I think I may have shared that with you too, Isaiah. But like, you want to know why the Democrats are so absolutely locked in on that? It's because this has been locked in with that framing. Because if turning the hoses on and the dogs on black people is the same as gender transitioning your kid, they can't break out of that paradigm because it's been hooked to the wagon. And it was very strategic on the part of the gender activists to do that because they know that that had such enormous moral and psychological power over the democratic mind. And people feel obligated to be on the right side of history. And so everything is then framed in that civil rights, category. And so no one dares oppose civil rights because that's just such sacred ground. Even though, frankly, I think it's really offensive and a gross appropriation of the very real struggle. And I don't want to go back to separate water fountains in the 60s and all that. Like, of course, I celebrate what was accomplished then. But then to then say that you're going to cut the genitals off your teenager or the breasts off your teenage girl, and that's going to be marketed to the public. And I mean, it's awful. But that has a grip on a certain mind in America where they just cannot let it go because it's just been framed that way repeatedly through the media and politicians.
Well, it was images like this.
Well, yeah.
The transgender tipping point. Yeah.
I remember walking through a grocery store in California in 2014, seeing that and wondering, oh, what have they got cooking now? Little did I know 2 years later I'd be a journalist that would write for it about it for 10 years. But I remember seeing that in the grocery store thinking, oh, what now? But the choice of a black man dressed as a woman, that is part of the messaging. And even in 2016, I wrote about this recently, Loretta Lynch, black woman, attorney general under Obama, with the federal directive saying that if schools didn't open their bathrooms on the basis of a self-determined gender identity, they're going to have their funds withheld. Powerful civil rights imagery, having a black woman attorney general saying that about transgenderism. The optics were huge. And so even though I don't think these things are related at all, that it's so intentionally messaged that way because then that has psychological buy-in from people who ordinarily would.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking a lot about how blacks, I'm talking about blacks and people and other people,
right.
Other melanated people. I refuse to use people of color, by the way. I refuse to use that because, listen, BIPOC, right. Yeah. The BIPOC, Tupac. Yeah. Listen, I will never forget. And yes, I'm going to bring her up again. She used to work for this nonprofit called Posse Foundation, right? And the way in which this is how this works, okay? You had black women, and gay black men were put at the forefront of this movement. Just exactly what you said. I use a different term for it. Putting blacks, Hispanics, and other people at the forefront of this movement gave the white liberal powers, the insanely wealthy white liberal powers behind this. It gave them what I call color legitimacy.
Yeah.
Color legitimacy, meaning that if you put it's like with Aunt Jemima a pancake syrup, with Uncle Ben's rice, okay, and Lando Lakes butter with the Indian lady holding a box of butter in the hand, right? Now, it's the same exact thing. If you put something colored on the packaging, then it'll make it easier for human consumption.
Yep.
Okay. The biggest example of this, right, is the Progress Pride flag.
Yeah. Yeah, look
I've
at that.
spoken about this. I have
Yeah.
spoken about this on multiple occasions. How the Progress Pride flag, the very first, matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up here so people can see it, because I want, like, you have to understand this. That the way the Progress Pride flag was designed was a tacit, a not so tacit admission of their own racism. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I mean. I'm going to break it down. I've broken it down, but I'm going to do it again here. Okay. The first two stripes are black and brown.
Yep.
Why are they black and brown, folks? Because the blacks and Hispanics, blacks and other minorities were considered the vanguard. They were the ones who would plow the road. They would plow the road forward. And look at that. All the way at the far left is white, the white liberal power structure. The ones calling the shots.
Yeah.
And if we flip the pink and the light blue, the pink and because remember, pink is for the trans woman. Trans women are men. So it's white men and women hiding behind as the blacks and Hispanics plow the road for our movement. And that has been what DEI has been on the DEI industrial complex. I said this. It is an industrial complex that creates highly motivated and highly refined racist white people, and it uses black women specifically as the mules to push this agenda forward.
And here's
me to see that, to watch this play out.
And to just add two more anecdotes to that, during the heyday of Summer of Love in 2020, when all the Black Lives Matter stuff, it was hanging on the exterior of the human rights big trans activist organization here in DC. Black Trans Lives Matter.
Yeah,
that was what they were doing. And here's the other thing that makes it fascinating is that there have been several, often black Democrats, that crossed the aisle in red states that passed bans on trans and kids, and the black Democrats that voted with the Republicans to stop the chemical castration and surgical disfigurement of children got primaried. Like the white money behind, like Sean Theory in Texas, Christian woman, she became a Republican. I heard her say, and this is public information, that she was like, I don't care. I'm going to lose my seat for this. This is wrong. You can't do this to children. I'm a Christian. I'm a woman of faith. And her colleagues said, we know, but just hold your nose and vote with us. Like they tried to strong arm her into doing it. And she lost her seat because of it. Cesar McKnight, another black man in South Carolina, he got primaried. Jonah Wheeler, black man up in New Hampshire, he was called a Nazi and he was harangued. It's like the black people that stick up for children and against this stuff, they get treated like garbage by just power structure that wants this and use them as convenient cover, make it impossible to criticize by putting racial minorities out at the front, even though most of the people who go trans are upper middle class whites. This is not a phenomenon that's taking off very much in black and Hispanic communities that are instinctively against it, though they put out as sort of the trophies, Laverne Cox and others, they like that's their costume, but this is mostly a project of white leftists.
And I have been banging that drum for years.
Yeah. And black people in this country they have instincts too, because they know what it's like to be experimented on. I mean, it's like this is experimental medicalization, and they are instinctively saying, wait a second, Tuskegee, anyone? Black women prisoners having their fertility stripped from them. Hello, like they're right to be suspicious about this, and so
I'm actually glad that I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
because all of that is there. All of that's there. It's there. And what makes it so crazy to me, if we want to continue this, the way in which this foolishness has been marketed to blacks, right? The way that this whole sexual hedonism has been marketed and sold to like as just like as like a part of our experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like in general, I'm gonna play something for you.
Yeah.
Because I think it's I think it's actually very I think it's this is from the Horrible Decisions podcast. Okay, this is about two women, two black women, well, one biracial woman. They have this podcast, and they've had it for years. Apparently, it's a pretty big podcast. But here's if it's not the. This is insidious for two reasons. What I'm about to play for you, what I'm about to play for the show, is insidious for two reasons. One, it is the complete. It shows a complete deletion of marginalization of the heterosexual black man. Okay, and the pedestalization of the gay hedonistic black man. Okay, the hypersexual gay black man. I think it's very, very important for this context. I will play this right now.
So, and I'm like, oh,
On the train?
on the train. And we both get off the train. We go to the edge of the platform. We hook up.
On the edge of the platform in
Oh,
the subway?
My
Yeah. We finish. The next train comes in like 2 minutes. We get on the next train. We both head back uptown. He gets off at 125th. I get up at 145th. And that was it. No conversation needed. We hook up.
In the subway? How does it happen?
3 a.m. I'm
Okay.
just getting off of work because I work in nightlife. Sexy man was sitting and we're like making eye contact. And then he moves to the seat directly.
Show me the eyes.
Me.
What is it? Just
What were the
like,
eyes?
I'm getting horny,
It's
I'm
just
getting
like a look and a hey.
okay.
You know, and then like
Okay.
I see you, you see me, I love this, you're hot.
But none of these words are said.
Nothing's
This
been
is all
said.
being
It's
said
all
through eyes.
eyes and energy and
That's about enough of that.
Yeah.
That's about enough of that. Because see, it's I've been pretty good all day today. I haven't said one curse word all day, but it's that shit right there that absolutely sickens me. Because see, that type of hedonism is marketed. Transing your children is marketed heavily in the black community, in the black community, especially amongst African Americans. Okay, I can't speak for West Indians and others, but I can tell you right now, they market this stuff heavy to blacks, and they try to normalize it in that community. And it's that level of hedonism, that level of, hey, it's all good. You want to hook up and start. You want to hook up on at the edge of a subway platform? Are you kidding me?
It's even in the subways. I'll never forget. And this is a true story too. I was coming on, Christian Post's office used to be downtown in DC. And I remember soon after I got started and I was on the metro downtown and I came out of the stairwell, there was a big, happened to be a black man, but it was a sign in the subway entrance for a hookup app called Squirt. Yeah, it was called, yes. And I was just like, this is being advertised right now. I was like, how is this in good keeping with public health or whatever? But like, there it was. I was like, oh, didn't want to see that first thing in the morning. But then I hit Reagan Airport. But then you just like there in Reagan Airport in the subway. I was just a couple of years ago. There were, it looks like advertisements for the PrEP meds or whatever. And like, there's two men, doggy style doing it. I'm like on the picture, it's like it was absolute degradation.
What?
Yes, it was the most disgusting advertisement I've seen, and it's marketed to the broad public too. But like, I think that is the kind of stuff that what that clip you just showed is just breaking down and demoralizing us to. I mean, just that we would ever aspire to anything. Holy, I hate it. But it's all part.
I hate it too.
It's all part of this larger beast that is destructive of the human body, because you are not. When people are engaging in sort of hookups in the subway, you don't have a regard for the body's physical structure as a whole integrated organism that's worthy of dignity. You don't. I mean, if you're into that kind of hedonism, I don't think that man has a lot of love for himself when he's kind of
Oh
thing.
no,
You can't. And I would say that about women who do it too. But like, that's just, and to present that as this kind of fun thing to laugh and joke about, it's not funny. It's sad.
It is.
It's very sad.
It is. Nino.
It's also how you catch rat herpes. You don't want to catch that, man. Let me tell you.
It does go to show just the degradation that we've come to accept as normal. None of this is normal. It's not. It's not
Totally.
normal. It's not normal to cut off children's body parts. It's not normal to put male rapists in prison with women. It's not normal to be promoting hookups in the subway. None of this is normal. Like if there's one consolation, I think that we are seeing some people return to God in this time where the chaos is so undeniable. Like, it's the most fascinating part of my work at the Christian Post over the last 10 years has been the number of phone calls I've gotten from atheists who have said to me, I think I might believe in demons, or like, please pray. Like, this has totally jolted people, like, thinking that they didn't realize they had so many sort of Judeo-Christian assumptions operating within their own paradigm, and they don't even realize it until something so evil sort of devours their family, and then they wonder why normalcy has died. It's like, well, they didn't realize that even though they're not religious, that so many of their assumptions were rooted in the moral underpinnings that have long suffused Western culture. And now that it's being supplanted by paganism, they want the old order back, even though they don't want the spirituality that goes with it. But people are having those kinds of awakenings and reckonings with the fact that they didn't realize how much they valued the structure that they had.
Brandon, I have not. My wife got me this cross. My wife got me this cross. Oh, let me see. There we go. My wife got me this cross last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a cross. I know you can't see it because I'm sitting away from the camera, obviously. But this it's a cross with like the soccer, like a soccer ball, because she got this for me because I'm a big soccer fan. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy that you live in Washington, D.C., because I am a huge D.C. United fan. And we're actually going to be down in D.C. on the 29th. And, it has a message on the back. I don't remember exactly what it says on the back. But the fact is, in this context, I have not taken this. I barely take this cross off. I barely take it off. And it ain't just because my lovely wife, it's not just because she bought it. Okay. And don't get me wrong, that's got a lot to do with it. But the stuff that I've seen, I work in New York City. We moved out of New York in October of last year. And I work in New York City. I'm in New York City every day. And the stuff that I have seen, the stuff that I see on a regular basis in the subway, like just walking around, this constant degradation, this constant just breaking down of society. And like you said, the degradation of the human body, breaking down this Gnostic obsession with just degrading the physical body. Okay. That is real shit, man.
Yeah.
It's real shit. Pig Pug 214, who I think is I know that's my boy Joker. He says the app was called Squirt. What was ejaculate a little too specific for the marketing team? you know. And,
that was a moment where I just.
And then Ellen says, Ellen was here, who's a wonderful lady. We love her to death. She says, I see that a lot on Twitter and X lately. I'm not a Christian, but I see demons everywhere. I mean, and then Pigpug writes again. He says, Charlie's passing supposedly got a lot of folks back into Christianity. I really hope that's true. I hope so too. That's actually a very good question. A very good statement right there. I don't know. I mean, I know early on it did, but then the message got muddled, and then Candace Owens started with her bullshit, and then a whole lot of other stuff. I do want to get into one quick thing, because someone, I think you know who she is, Sydney Watson. She's got a wonderful YouTube channel, by the way. She wrote something regarding all of this, and I just want to go over it real quick. She says, right wingers aren't the reason. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read through this. I'm gonna get your thoughts. Right wingers, Sydney writes, aren't the reason people can't stand the trans movement. I'd argue most people, me included, used to be totally indifferent to all of this. My position genuinely used to be that I don't care what you do as an adult, provided it doesn't affect me. I don't feel like that anymore, not even a little. Somewhere along the road, trans activists and progressives got extremely forceful and loud, and then it became impossible to ignore their bullshit. Please let us live in peace turned into forcing transition on minors and forcing men into women's spaces, and quite literally changing the definition of the word woman. In medicine, we have been pushed to change how we understand the female sex in order to accommodate a bunch of men who think they are female. LMFAO, what the fuck are we even doing? Then it was all the legal battles where judges undermined what it is to be a woman, forcing women to accept men into female-only gyms, locker rooms, bathrooms, and apps, making women feel uncomfortable and unsafe in order to protect the precious feelings of these men. We have been too thoroughly dehumanized by the trans community. Chest feeding, front hole, menstruating person, birthing person, anything and everything that makes women remarkable, unique, and different to men has been erased, so we could include a bunch of mentally ill men in our ranks. Voicing concern got you fired and socially ostracized. Women have been too terrified to speak up and do anything because across the Western world, we have virtually no support and no protections from the justice system. Women and men in Britain were, maybe still are, being charged and arrested for misgendering people online, harassed for pointing out the biological reality that men cannot be women. And this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what women, girls, and children have had to endure for the past decade or so. Public opinion went backwards because the most insane people have had the microphone for the better part of 10 years, and they have pushed everyone's tolerance to the blink. Blame yourselves. You did this to yourselves. You have hurt women and children so significantly and so thoroughly that there is no coming back for this. You are exclusively the ones at fault for where you are.
Well, I have a couple thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
Most Americans do have this kind of very liberal live and let live kind of attitude. And yeah, it is true that there are those who would identify themselves among the LGBT acronym or whatever that kind of want to just live their lives. There are those people that are like that. But I would respectfully disagree with Sydney that that this has ever been a kind of live and let live movement. I believe that the sexual revolution, of which this is an extension, has always been about something very aggressive and militant, because it redefines personhood in a very consequential way. And you can't get that is a totalitarian creed. So yes, Americans are live and let live, sort of psychologically. That's, yeah, you do you, leave me alone. You say, as long as it doesn't affect me. It's like when you're trying to reorder society and deconstruct family and celebrate sexual hedonism and redefine terms like this, it can't help but affect you. This sort of notion, all of this is out of sight and out of mind. Live and let live, you do you, as long as it doesn't affect you. it does affect you. And it's socially conservative Christians largely who have been that squeaky wheel for years saying this is going to be a slippery slope and lead to other things. And we're constantly dismissed as fear-mongering bigots. And then before you know it, we're cutting off the body parts of children. And in the state of Massachusetts and Somerville, a 6-person polycule will be recognized as a group marriage or whatever. It's like that's actually a thing now too. So like this train is still barreling down the tracks, and this notion that we can just live and let live, it's like they're going to have to be some guardrails. And the revolutionaries are not content to allow people to live how they want to live if it doesn't jive with their proclivities.
Nino?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right, man. I mean, what should I say about this? Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Righteous Mind, he mentions it's a great book. He mentions somebody's study or article where he said a quote. He said, "Shallow is the soul that has forgotten how to shudder," basically, which kind of goes into what you're talking about of like, is there like if you have nothing that disgusts you, nothing that makes you feel morally degraded, nothing that makes you feel like I don't know if we should be doing that. What do you stand for? Like, what do you that's probably not a good sign morally, where there's no moral boundaries at all. Clearly we've gone beyond, I think, the moral boundaries we should have. And of course, those are things that are always constantly being negotiated, and some people are going to go over, some people aren't. That's just part of living in a society, in a society with freedom and everything. Mm-hmm. But clearly things have gone way down the path where, as you say, we are mutilating children, sterilizing children, pushing it onto them. This isn't a natural thing. It's not natural. It's a social contagion in many cases. A lot of times it's virtue signaling. Just look at Hollywood actresses. How many, every single, some of them have like 2 trans kids.
Oh, I know.
How the hell does that happen?
Charlize Theron. Every time she
goes,
this
didn't exist.
She takes a trip to
exist like 25 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they have 2 of them each.
Yeah. It's like Charlize Theron literally, she's originally South African. Every time she goes back to South Africa, she comes back with like 2 more black boys that she's gonna that she transes out within like a month.
Yeah.
You're just carrying these kids as pets.
So awful. You would think, to the question about whether or not Charlie's death precipitated a return to faith, I agree that it's kind of a myth. We'll have to wait and see about that, because I think it did. It was very much a turning point, pun intended, mm-hmm. in the culture, where I think a lot of people really got the feeling that something very evil was allowed to be unleashed. And so people are going to, maybe like those other people on Twitter who say that they see demons everywhere. It's like, well, if there is an evil like that, there must be a good. And so people are going to be seeking out, at some point, you would have to think that it would have to be so degraded that people are going to be rushing back towards something with a semblance of order and moral goodness. Though I will tell you too, as a journalist who's covered some church scandals, I understand why some people are averse to doing that too, because rot is there too. And I have to be honest about that. So totally. This is why I will say that, you were asking earlier about, what precipitated me to write this 10-year summative article where I'm documenting all of these feculent horrors. It's like, I have hope in the Lord Jesus Christ. That is, I don't mean to sound like a pat cliche Christianese kind of person, but it's just like, if I didn't believe that God sees and knows and is active in the world, I really would despair. But I'll anchor my hope in the cross, like the one around your neck. It's like, I'm like, that's all I have. And so that was kind of the headspace I was in. It's like, Lord, you see and know, you love the children. You don't take too kindly when children are led astray and hurt. So God is on the move. He sees it, he knows it. And I'm just going to be faithful.
Kevin Carter and Robin Carter, my parents. Mm-hmm. I love my mother. I love my mother and father to pieces. There's 3 words that those two have put into, have written, they wrote this, you know, God used that to use them to write these 3 words on my heart. And it's to this day. And I am not the best of the best of Christians. But God is sovereign.
Yep.
God is sovereign. And he is going to have, I believe, he is going to, like you said, the Lord is on the move. There are things that are happening right now that we don't fully understand, things that we don't even see. And I'm reminded of the passage in Ephesians chapter 6. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. I don't know the full verse off the top of my head, but we're up against this. Like if there's anything, and this will segue into my last question. I don't know if Nino's got any more, but we're up against some real evil here.
Yes.
Okay. And what I want to know is what happens next, because we have AOC, who put out a video. It was honestly, it looked like more attention-seeking behavior. Like I said earlier, I do not know how this woman became the congresswoman representing New York's 14th congressional district. This is a woman who New York 14 is only really, New York 14 is a portion of 2 of New York City's boroughs, Queens and the Bronx. This woman only spends time in Queens because that's where all the money is. That's where all the white people are. That's where all the white liberals are, and that's where all the money is. Right? Whenever Bernie Sanders and them come for big rallies and stuff, they're always in Queens. Okay, and she's why. But a couple days, or I think this was yesterday.
Yeah,
she come out with a video from Fox News' X channel. It says AOC releasing a new video where she reveals she's freezing her eggs and gives herself hormone injections on camera, while of course calling out President Trump. The 36-year-old squad member calls her fertility decision badass. And of course, she blames the Trump administration for what she describes as a, well, hold on a second. Let me just pull this up here. We can watch it.
Ugh.
Don't be weird about this, even though I know all of you will be. Okay.
Oh, I can't even.
Girl, you're injecting yourself on camera and you're saying, don't be weird about it? What in the gaslight?
It's so awful. I can't even bear to watch.
This is self-mutilation.
That wasn't so bad.
Don't be weird about this as you inject yourself. This is a sitting United States Congresswoman injecting herself on camera saying, don't be weird about this.
This is like, if you ever want to see a horrifying film, my friend Jennifer Law made a film. This is the first film she made called Eggsploitation. I love the name. It's about the whole egg poaching industry, and she's not giving her eggs away to make a baby for someone else. She wants to freeze them for herself, presumably. But like the hyperstimulation of what they do to make your ovaries produce more eggs so you can extract them, the fertility industry is a horror show all its own.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the reproductive tech industry is just monstrous, and the fact that she's doing that, I like it. There's a part of me that really feels sorry for her, because like the industry that she's engaging now to bank her eggs, which, especially if she's going to try to get pregnant later, if she's freezing her eggs for some other purpose to reproduce later down the line, either through a surrogate or I don't know what she's got in mind, but that is such a dangerous and destructive endeavor, because first of all, if she puts her egg and her longtime partner's sperm into a surrogate or whatever, that surrogate's going to have to take rejection drugs because it's not recognizing the embryo that's been implanted. And it's just Frankenstein, Gattaca kind of stuff that you're going to use other people's bodies to reproduce for you. It's just, again, the attack on the body. There's just newfangled ways of manipulating the original God-designed structure of our anatomy that is contrary to how it's all supposed to function. And so whether she's doing that, she's banking her eggs because she wants to run for, I don't know, like there's people, all sorts of speculations as to why she's doing it, because she still could have children naturally. She's only 36. It's like, but for some reason she's like trying to preserve her genetics somewhere else so that maybe down the line she can have a kid. And that just, they're commodifying human beings. It's just, what is this? This is not normal.
It's not.
Yeah. I think it also doesn't necessarily work all the time either.
No, very high failure rate. Very high.
Yeah. So a lot of people are going to regret doing this.
Yeah.
I think, and I think they're lying to young women. I mean, the media is constantly lying to women. But they think like they think that this is like a surefire. You don't have to worry. You can just freeze your eggs. I've heard it so many times. You can just freeze your eggs. You can do it later. You can focus on your career. Like have fun. It's like, and then I'm seeing things recently where people are like, I did that and I can't have kids. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like it's
a lie. The sexual revolution and all that it entails is one humongous lie.
Yeah, and it's also we don't really know.
Totalitarian war against humanity.
I don't know that we know the full effects of birth control for a woman for women from like 15, 14 or whatever years old. Whenever some girls start doing it, or later. Some people do it pretty early, I think, all the way until like 35, and then they're like, okay, I'm ready to have kids now. It's like, I wonder how much that affects their fertility in general, and also doing things in your mid to late 30s is also already reduces the chances of fertility and everything and a lot of other things. So they're being lied to, and a lot of women are learning the hard way. That's tough. It's gonna be really tough for them.
Yeah, the enemy of our souls wages war against the image of God. He just tries to destroy the body because it's the temple of the Holy Spirit. That's the warfare in which we find ourselves. Like, if he can't wage war against God, he's going to wage war on this creation that bears his image. And he does that especially with regard to sexuality, because it's male and female, that it's the masculine and the feminine that represents God. And that's the distinct image of God that we carry as sexually dimorphic human beings. And so that's the locus of the rage. Like, behind all of just to sort of tie these two things together, we started this conversation about these late-term abortion, and then we veered into trans and kids and this other Frankenstein stuff. You know that Planned Parenthood recently posted on Instagram, I kid you not, you can look this up, abortion is gender-affirming care. It's all tied together. They actually posted that.
I've seen this.
You seen that? Yeah.
Abortion is gender-affirming care. How does that make sense? I'm not sure.
Because
how does that? What's the logic behind that? I don't even get it.
Okay, well, the logic is, first of all, Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of gender care now. They dispense cross-sex hormones like candy. It's very easy to get that if you're from, and so it's just like, but they're now saying in their convoluted way that if a trans person or whatever needs an abortion to feel more like themselves, or if a woman, it's effectively the complete erasure, not only of the baby, but also now of the woman. And so you need to feel more comfortable in your self-determined gender. Abortion can now be part of that care you receive. But really, it's like the link of the destruction of the human body has been there in both spheres at the time. Though when I first heard that Planned Parenthood was doing the gender stuff too, it wasn't surprising to me because I could see the spiritual connection, but a lot of people who I know who generally supported Planned Parenthood were just horrified. Like, what are they doing? It's like, it's the same spirit, it's the same destructive ugliness that it's destroying in a human body. But I mean, I know people who support abortion rights that are with me on the trans thing. So, and I've tried to not be partisan and ideological, because I'll talk to pretty much anybody I can to try and raise the alarm about this. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, but at the root, at the end of the day, it all comes down to, we are in an existential war against grave evil that are trying to destroy the human body, because the human body is the temple of the Holy Spirit and it bears God's image. This is a battle between good and evil, God and the devil. And if the devil can't destroy God, he's going to try to destroy the pinnacle of creation, which is human beings that bear his image. That's my work.
Also just
that's my work in a nutshell for 10 years.
Mm.
and just trying to prevent reproduction in general.
The proliferation of the species. Yeah.
You know, and to degrade human beings and potential for life and all the different things that can create, and just having a culture of, I mean, one thing I pointed out many times is the left, the Democrats have really increasingly become kind of a death cult. I mean, they're obsessed with abortion. They love abortion. They love seemingly gender mutilation, sterilization of kids. Even pushing homosexuality, so it's harder to reproduce when you do that. Anti-marriage, harder to reproduce and have families when you do that. Splitting up, feminism in many ways has pushed men away and demonized men, and now there's a backlash of like demonizing women. So now men and women are not seeing eye to eye, which is really bad. That's a really bad thing to happen politically as well. Also, of course, the assisted suicide push for things. I mean, like it's being pro crime, just letting people off, violent criminals off over and over and over again until they kill somebody. I mean, if you go down the line, it really have become like there's a lot of the Democrats, the DSA, far left, has been very, very, very pro death, very anti family, very anti children, very anti safety. I don't really, and of course they're not going to see it that way. They see it as like, they're just looking out for the underprivileged and stuff, and all the victims, minorities. But it's like, no, I mean, like everything kind of points towards anti-family, anti-society, anti-life, anti-children. And just like, I mean, like even I think in Canada where they have the things like with assisted suicide, it's like they were doing it for people who just kind of feel depressed, I guess, like young people too. And it's 5%
of all deaths. 5% of all deaths now in Canada is now because of assisted suicide and euthanasia.
5%.
5%.
Wow. And I could, I could,
deaths.
I could
say that again, Brandon. Say that again, please.
I can see it. I can see an argument for it. I can see an argument for it with if you're late in your it's late stage cancer, you're just constantly suffering, there's no way to go. I can see an argument for it, and I don't feel strongly about it either way.
That's what opens the door to euthanizing children. And
but then you see young people and they're like, well, I feel really depressed and I don't feel any meaning in my life. There's ways to address that. There's ways to address that where you don't have to kill yourself.
Well, and then what also happens, people don't think this through, when you replace that ethic of preserving life and valuing life and even aging, and those ethics, they create all kinds of pressures within institutions where that then starts to dominate. And then it's like, oh, well, if you're too, they offer made to poor people like useless eaters. I've heard in Holland, this is big, the Netherlands, which is a lot of us originated in the Netherlands. People are afraid to go to the hospital because then it becomes, it's more cost efficient if you can just euthanize instead of pay for your palliative care or whatever. It's because you don't have the cornerstone value that every human life has inherent inviolable dignity because you're made in God's image. If you erase that, we become expendable. We just become cogs in a machine. There's nothing worth preserving. Now, there's criticism that could be happen about other, the model of healthcare systems that doesn't allow that sort of the death process to happen naturally, and you're not just going to extend your life endlessly. I understand that kind of thing, but it's like when you put, as my friend Wesley Smith, who's the foremost expert on euthanasia, in my opinion, he says, once you put death in the driver's seat, it never pumps the brakes. And you put,
you say the same thing about gender too.
Yeah,
gender ideology.
I mean, would you have? Yeah. I would have. I mean, I will never. There are a couple of moments. This is in the piece. It's like I will never forget the moment when an endocrinologist had obtained by FOIA the document that our federal government, through the NIH, had given millions of dollars to a bunch of gender clinics, and one of the psychopath gender pediatricians in this country had lowered the age for children to receive cross-sex hormones in a federally funded research experiment from 13 to 8. I saw that document. I felt like the bottom dropped out of the world.
Wow.
And that same night, I've never shared this story anywhere, so this is the first time on your Apostate Radio. I had 10 moms in my house who had come to DC to beg legislators to help them. And it was the same day I found out that they were transing the kids in federal funded experiments. That I got the fact that an 8-year-old a progress report had shown that she had lowered the protocol age so 8-year-olds could get cross-sex hormones. I had 10 moms in my house who had come to DC. And a local lesbian activist came over for dinner too. And I was like, talking to them, how can we get your stories out, all this kind of thing. People don't know the half of what's going on behind the scenes just because it's just been so murderously hard to get information out. And then when that endocrinologist followed up with the NIH and all the entities that had done that stuff, they gaslit him and breezily dismissed his concerns. Even like, well, luckily this guy was in private practice, so he wasn't beholden to, Kaiser or some corporate conglomerate where he could have gotten fired for raising his. I mean, it's just been a few of us in the trenches that have just been like screaming bloody murder, help, help, help. We're cutting up children, we're destroying families. We're exhausted. I mean, it's just
it's important work though. It's so great that you're doing it.
I will never forget the anguished looks, exhaustion on those mothers' faces in my house that night when I found out that we're transing 8-year-olds with cross-sex hormones in federally funded grants.
Yeah, it's despicable. Yeah. We've heard similar things. I mean, Mia Hughes, you're probably familiar with Mia, right? We've had her on.
Enormously important work. The
GenSpec, WPATH files.
They're the worst of humanity represented in that stuff. And
really depraved shit, man. Really demonic, dark force that is. But Mia's really exposed quite a bit of that. Go ahead.
No, well, the WPATH, which I mean, the Federal Trade Commission is suing them now. Thank God. I hope they win.
Good.
But
it's really good news.
It's really great. Yeah, and it's great to see that kind of action happening now. But the World Professional Association for Transgender Health actually lists eunuch as a kind of gender diverse person. That's how it's
right. She mentioned that. Yes.
Oh, this is noted.
That's so bad.
The state of Alabama,
which
I think is the Attorney General's office and that state is just, they should go down in the annals of history for being heroes. They cited in their amicus brief to the Supreme Court in the Sacrament case, which is the case that allowed bans on transing kids to stay in place. Oh, you say depopulation, your commenter. You have no idea how many times I hear that from you. This has to be depopulation scheme. And I can't patch that all together, but like that's one thing I'm constantly said, because when you're eradicating people's fertility, well, you're going to have fewer people. So anyway, but I was just saying.
Well, that's also the climate change movement too. A lot of it's also another thing I could mention with the anti-life movement. Like they always say things like about like we have too many people in the world. There's too many people. It's all right. What are we gonna do about it? Are we like, kill some people? Like, what are we gonna do?
The state of Alabama's amicus details the fact that they deposed because the Biden administration sued the state of Alabama for its ban, which was the strongest ban in the country because it added criminal penalties to doctors who try to trans the kids. When the deposition of one of the lead writers of the WPATH guidelines, the same guidelines that call eunuchs a gender people, he was asked, the Alabama Attorney General's office asked the lead writer who headed the writing of these guidelines, if a man comes in and identifies himself as a eunuch gender person and he's at no risk for self-harm, is it considered appropriate treatment to physically castrate him? And the lead writer said, that's correct. He just said it right out. It's like
repeat that one more time.
The guy who headed the guidelines of the WPATH Standard of Care version 8, Eli Coleman, was interviewed, deposed in a deposition by the Alabama Attorney General's office, and he was asked if, in the case of a man who presents as a eunuch gender person or whatever, and he comes into a doctor's office, is it WPATH's position, even if there's no self-harm risk to that young man, is it considered appropriate treatment for him to be physically castrated? And the lead writer said that's correct. Go read the amicus brief. It's all documented. It's a formal
brief. Crazy.
To the court. And that is it's still there. The eunuch is a designated gender diverse person in their official guidelines. And Rachel Levine, I still think that there needs to be a reckoning over that guy, because
Oh yeah.
he
Oh yeah.
we see like it is part of discovery
100%.
in that Alabama case that happened. He was sort of behind the scenes maneuvering things to urge WPATH to not put
Yep.
age minimums for surgery.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yep.
Guidelines. And when it finally came out, they only had one age limit, where they said the phalloplasty, where you harvest forearm tissue to make a penis. That was the only surgery that they had an age limit for. And it was so the collusion between our federal government and these monsters. I mean, that would not have happened but for Alabama's dogged attorney general's office. I actually know somebody who works in that office. You see, if ever there are lawyers that are heroes, it's in the Alabama Attorney General's office for this. We wouldn't have known so much of what we know about what goes on within the bowels of our federal government in this area were it not for them.
That's so disgusting, man.
This
Thank God for them.
This is a generational evil.
Oh, movies need to be made about that. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That don't worship these people as like gods. But I have one last question for you, Brandon, because I really appreciate you taking the time and being with us, man. I really appreciate it. This was all woke 1.0.
Mm-hmm.
This was all like the first, like we've been dealing with this for the better part of 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we're talking about, or at least people, in these circles are talking about woke 2.0. Like, what does this look like?
Yeah.
What, what, as these people begin to dial back the crazy or act like they never were all the way down with this stuff. Tell us, if you will, what do you think woke 2.0 looks like as we head into the midterms and as we head into 2028?
Well, I will avoid making any particular political predictions because I think sometimes things can just go completely there. Look at what nobody thought Trump was going to win in 2016. A couple of people did, but things can change on a dime. So I'm not going to make any predictions about what I think will happen in the midterms of 2028. I will say, ideologically, I do not expect the Democratic Party to moderate at all. I think they are too wedded to this because, like I say, I think the sexual revolution is their raison d'etre. And so they, especially with the trans and kids thing, I think they might try to pivot their messaging a little bit, but I think they are absolutely as forcefully and fiercely committed to it in their soul because they have to be. As Helen Joyce has said it, the people, especially that took part in transing their own kids, are going to be like the Japanese soldiers in the middle of the Pacific in the 1950s.
I remember that.
Couldn't deny, who couldn't just, they have to dig, they have no choice but to double down. But I think it's even broader. And I think that the sexual revolution and all of this gender cult stuff is just that deeply ingrained. And so they might try to repackage some of the language and sort of modify it or just stay strategically quiet before. But I have no doubt that this is still makes the swath of even mainstream Democrats tick, because a lot of centrist Democrats have jumped ship and said, I'm done. I don't even like the Republicans, but I'm not. I mean, I'm watching some of that even happen now. I know a lot of LGBT dissenters and other sort of normie Dems, what used to be normie Dems, who are like, this is too far. The question, as I see it, is like, so what are the Republicans going to do? I don't know. My personal view, and this is just me being a Christian before I'm anything political, because I have all sorts of complicated feelings about politics these days, is that we're currently living through a time of great creation groaning as in the pains of childbirth. The whole world is convulsing. The nations are raging. It is a time of divine disruption. And so I'm going to take the view that in the same way that Jesus said to his disciples when they were asking him why we couldn't cast the demon out of the demon-possessed boy, why couldn't we cast it out? And he said, this kind comes out only by prayer and fasting. I think that's true on a broad level. So my eyes are on the Lord. I'm going to believe that he's going to do, he cares about this more than any of us could. He's more committed to his people than any of us could ever be to him. So beyond what happens in this temporal world or in our political system or anywhere else in the world, even as Iran keeps going on and all these other, conflicts are raging, my eyes are on Jesus. And so The woke people might try to reposition and repackage and refinagle their language a little bit, but I do not expect them to give this up. And I think the only thing that can make them give it up is if we see God Almighty judge it and say, I'm done, I'm on the move, I love the children, I'm ending this, and we see some sort of maybe cleansing that sort of really resets things. I don't know. My hope is in him alone, and that's all I have. And I'm not saying the cliche. That's really what I believe.
No, amen, and I can sense that.
The good news is, I'll also say, I am encouraged. Like, people keep asking me, so what do you make of what the Trump administration is doing to end this gender stuff now? I'm like, I am not going to sniff at any development that's good, big or small. And had you told me 2 years ago that the largest gender clinics in the country would be closed, I'm not sure I would have believed you. So God's on the move. Like, I'll celebrate the good things that happen. I'll celebrate the FTC suing WPATH. I'm glad to see detransitioners winning lawsuits. Like, there are good things that are happening. And so I hope it precipitates a broader conversation that our generation, the millennials and younger, really reject the whole sexual revolution at the root and replace it with something better and a love for family again.
We've seen some.
That'll probably be the rest of my life's work, even as a single 41-year-old man. You know, who knows? Who knows where I'll end up?
That's good. No, that's good. I think
central to the gospel. This is central to the gospel because our bodies declare who we are as male and female, and they image forth God in a very powerful way. And to desecrate them, this is not a minor issue. This strikes to the core of our faith.
I think I want to say, Brandon, hang on a second. I think I do think younger people are coming to this on their own. Surprisingly,
I know.
I mean, maybe not so surprisingly, but especially with the dating apps and stuff. Like, a lot of women, I think, have had too much casual sex, too many times with too many different guys, and they kind of feel very degraded about it. They're getting older. I think a lot of them realize, like, they're like, this is not for me. And I think the younger generation, like Gen Z, younger Gen Z, they're just kind of like rejecting a lot of that. Seems like less partying, less drinking, stuff like that. I see some kids I've seen in my own life, some kids in my own family who are going back to church and doing church groups when they didn't do that before. So this is good. I think there is a lot of like a natural. There's a little bit of a trad movement, right? They call you'll be going back to big traditional marriage, traditional families, go to the suburbs, all that kind of thing, that American dream. Instead of like they've been disillusioned by the city life of like just constantly partying and having casual sex and stuff, and it probably hurts.
Yeah, does it get more degrading in the metro? I mean, I don't think so. It's empty. It's a dead end.
And I think they probably have heard some stories from millennials, older millennials and stuff that are just like just seeing him like, wow, my older sister or my older cousin or aunt or whatever never got married, never had kids, and you could tell she's depressed about that. Even though she lived in New York City and was hooking up all the time and partying and traveling, and it's like seemed like it was fun, but not so fun anymore. So hopefully that happens. And I think to your point about the spiritual stuff, people got to remember, like, the devil works in subtle ways too. And the way to fight that is to fight that every day, subtle ways as well, not just the big ways. Making the right decisions, trying to get away from that, get away from those snares and deception. There's a lot of deception that goes on, and I was talking about that before. Like, I was alluding towards that with the, again, like, people are very morally motivated. Almost everybody is. Mm-hmm. Almost everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. Even narcissists, even like psychopaths, like in their own, they'll in their own head, they'll say, "Oh, I'm doing this because I deserve it," or whatever. Like, whatever their justification is. And of course, with the liberal mamas using their maternal instincts, they think they're doing the right thing. They think they swear they're protecting marginalized communities, underprivileged people, blah blah blah. Right. So most of these people think they're doing the right thing. Some are just straight up evil people, but a lot of people are tools for evil, and they don't realize it. And that's something people need to realize, is that there's so one of the biggest things the devil does, and evil, whatever that force is it deceives, right? It's the prince of lies. It's deception. So it makes people think they're doing the right thing, or it's not harming anybody, or like having casual sex for decades isn't harming anybody. And if you do it the right way, or whatever, and it's like, no, it's harming you. Probably it could be harming your parents. It could be harming all the people you hook up with who feel degraded afterwards. So all these things, and it could be subtle, but it builds and it builds and it builds. And people need to recognize that. And it takes good deeds every day and trying to make the right decisions and being humble, praying to fight that, and kind of being brave and speaking out and trying to put pressure on the people who are really, what do you say, who are being deceived themselves and being misled themselves in a lot of ways. And they swear they're doing the right thing. They do. Most of them do. I mean, that's why they're so passionate. Otherwise, they'd probably be like, screw this. I don't need to be out here protesting or whatever. But they really believe that they're doing the right thing. Hopefully they see the light at some point. But it's tough when especially if you're one of those people who made that decision, like you said, like those parents who are, castrated their own kids or gave them puberty blockers or something like that, and now they have to live with that, and they're not, most of them aren't going to be strong enough to admit to themselves, I just castrated my own kid, I just sterilized my own kid because I'm a fucking idiot, so they gotta stick with it. Yeah, it's sad. Anyways, I just wanted to bring
Brandon,
that up.
No,
It's been bubbling up inside me, all these different things I wanted to mention.
No, bro, you're good. You're good. Brandon, before I let you go, we were mentioning, we talked about AOC freezing her eggs and don't be weird and all that. Well, looks like there's something that just so happened. The TMZ reported AOC splits from fiance Riley Roberts.
She's got somebody else.
That's why. So that's why.
Oh,
that makes sense now.
Yeah, and it's
So
here's
what
the question. Why, it goes.
Watch her end up with Abdul Sayed, man.
Oh shit!
If he's not gay.
Yeah,
I think he's married.
He is married. It's truly sad though. I mean, why did, I guess they've been dating for 4 years? I'm like, dude, if you're going to be dating somebody that long, get it together and ask you to marry.
Right.
Yeah. And they're at the age, to do that too. That's somebody might have had an ultimatum.
Yeah.
That sounds like
it's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad.
The sexual dysfunction and the perversion of the human body is the moral, spiritual, theological, social crisis issue of our time.
This is a big one. Yeah.
This is where the rage of the devil is.
Brandon, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. This has been quite a heavy show, but I really appreciate you coming here and discussing all this with us.
Thank you.
What are you working on? Is there anything that people should be checking for you about? What are you working on, man?
I can't say what my next big project is because it's still in the development phase, and where I'm working on something big it might come out later this year. We'll start to release it, but it will be a very important project. I'll just put it that way. But I will be soon. Next week, I will be releasing the conclusive special final episode of our award-winning 5-season documentary podcast called Generation Indoctrination, which it's gotten 500,000 downloads. So it's quite, if people want to listen to sort of my work and get a quick education into the gender world and its implications in every sphere, go to generationindoctrination.com. All 5 seasons. The second season is an ebook of the audio. It's an audiobook of the ebook that I co-authored. But check me out at christianpost.com/Brandon-Showalter. That's my byline. I'm still writing some opinion columns, and we'll see what I do with this issue, how much it affects. I'm not going to say I'm completely leaving the field, but I'm kind of passing the torch in some ways, you could say. These issues will always be a part of me because you can't spend a decade of your life writing so assiduously on it and it not be. But we care very deeply about the integrity of the gospel and of defending personhood here at Christian Post. And I know that my colleagues and I will continue to hold the line and keep being faithful as we know to be. So,
Brandon, you know what? The last question. Do you have a home church?
I do.
Okay. We'll talk about, I do want to talk about that with you
Sure.
offline. But that is our show for today, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate everybody being here. Shout to, of course, Mr. Brandon Showalter for joining us this evening. We will be back on Friday with, I believe I just got to confirm who our guest is going to be. I will be on the Cecil Says podcast tomorrow. That'll be around 5:00 tomorrow evening. So you can check me out there. I believe we're going to be on. He does his show on Rumble. So when we go live, I'll of course I'll share the link on my X channel, and we go from there. But thank you again, Brandon. May God bless you, and really and keep you safe throughout all of this, man. You're a great guy, and I'm glad that you. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came.
Too. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
And
Brandon, your work is so important, man, and I appreciate that you've been doing it for 10 years, and it's not easy. It's very dark to look at that all the time and talk about it, but it's so important, and may God bless you for that, man, and we're all grateful for that.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we will see you on Friday. I'll have more information about that in the coming days. Well, in the coming days. So thanks again. Y'all have a great rest of your night. We'll talk soon.